My name is Yolanda Androzo, Executive Director of One Aim Illinois, and thank you so much for joining August's coalition call. As Robert said, we're going to have a discussion on the intersection between criminal justice reform and gun violence prevention. It's very important to understand these connections because we all work together to create a safer Illinois. And I think about not too long ago, I saw Representative LaShawn Ford in action at Independence Day for Returning Citizens, a wonderful event, and met so many survivors, advocates, frontline workers, that are doing that work, that violence intervention work. And also, we're going to be partnering with Representative Ford on an upcoming annual Spoken Words Festival, where you get artists that are involved in this movement, also instrumental to bringing those voices into the work of saving lives. And right now, we're at a critical time in Chicago. Many of you know that Trump is threatening to send federal troops here in Chicago. And I think it's time that survivors and advocates, as well as legislators, we've been hearing from them over the past several weeks about this, because we know here in Chicago, although we do see violence, we know those numbers are coming down. And that is due large in part to our community violence intervention movement. And now is not the time to remain silent, but it's the time to continue to peacefully protest and to make our voices heard, because without that, change doesn't bend towards justice. So I'm grateful to have wonderful advocates on this call, and to be working with people like Tre Bosley, who you'll be hearing a bit from. He's also partnered with us over the past several of years, something recently called our Voices of Change campaign, which Robert will be telling you a bit about. And of course, our other advocates on this call, Terrence, who I had the pleasure of meeting at one of our community events. Ending permanent punishments is also integral to ensuring that everybody has a chance to thrive, So thank you so much for letting me speak and talk about how grateful I am to have advocates working with advocates at it's a critical time in Chicago. So without further ado, I'll pass this back over to Robert.
Thank you, Yo. Appreciate your words, especially in a time like today. I'm incredibly thankful for representatives like LaShawn Ford, who's doing incredible work to combat all sorts of injustices within our country. Again, just incredibly thankful for a dedicated public servant like LaShawn Ford. He's an educator, an entrepreneur. Again, he's serving in the 8th District in Illinois. He's been doing so since 2007, I believe. He's been a strong advocate for criminal justice reform, equitable education, economic development, and community empowerment and community safety. LaShawn Ford, Representative Ford, would love for you to come on, give a few remarks, let us know what the state's up to, and also if you'd like to just comment on what's going on in the country. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. And this is absolutely great to have a forum where we're talking about current events and what we're doing in Springfield, what we're doing in the state, and how we will not allow for this administration to roll back our rights without a fight. And it's great to work with Yolanda and her team for the end permanent punishment day that we have every July 3rd, Independence Day for people with backgrounds. But, I think when you look at I think you and Yolanda talked about the fact that crime is down in the city, but yet we haven't eliminated it. But we have the state of Illinois and the city and the county working to fund intervention programs so that you can have a holistic type of approach to ending violence and reducing violence in our city. But when you have an administration like Trump and the Republicans that cut funds for violence prevention programs that employ people, that makes it very difficult to um, connect with those that are struggling in the streets. And so we've done a lot in the state of Illinois to fund violence prevention programs, and the federal government is cutting back on programs like that. The federal government is cutting back on programs to help people with mental and behavioral health, which we know leads to some violence in our communities. And you know, you guys worked on the Karina's bill. That is some legislation that we passed that has a lot to do with violence amongst couples, domestic violence. And we passed that bill under the leadership of Speaker Welch, Bob Morgan, and Representative Hershire and myself. We're on this work group for firearm safety. And the Karina bill aims to remove guns out of the hands of those that are actually been deemed a threat to their spouse or to their loved ones. So that bill actually passed the House and the Senate, I do believe, and the governor signed it. So there's some other bills that we worked on, and that is the firearm safety bill to make sure that there's some type of safety where the storage is required for guns, and we're still working on that. But I tell you, there's still a lot of work to be done to get the guns out of the people's hands that have been deemed unfit for guns. And our Cook County sheriffs and our state police, we need to fund the program so that the guns that are actually in the hands of those that have been deemed unfit to carry, that the guns could be picked up. So with the advocacy of the people on this call, I think that we will continue to push for safety in our communities, not just worrying about the ways to incarcerate people, but how to make sure that people are able to heal from their traumas from our society.
I'm going to hop in here in case Robert has frozen. I agree with you 100%, Representative LaShawn Ford. That healing, that trauma healing piece is so important. And yes, we were grateful to work with you on passing of Karina's bill. And now, you know, we are also working with your with you and also with Live Free Illinois on trying to get continued funding for community healing resource centers. And so, you know, through ICEJA. So, you know, there was like 5 billion. We need that, you know, now that we know that all those Reimagine Public Safety Act funds are dried up, you know, we've got to find really creative ways of continuing to fund peace. To take that also from Live Free Illinois. Yes.
And it's difficult because when you have the federal government, the Congress cutting the funds, literally cutting funds for reentry and holistic approaches, it makes it hard on state budgets. And it really causes our communities to have to fire people that are actually doing the work to intervene in violence in these communities. So I do know that this administration has harmed the violence interruption that has been built up for a number of years. You know, we felt it, and Yolanda, you know, that there was a time with Ronner where Ronner took us back as well, where there was no funding for reentry and no funding for violence prevention. We're facing that right now, and that's a problem.
It is. It's a problem, and it's scary, you know, and so many of our returning citizens who've had, you know, positions in organizations like, you know, Chicago Cred and the Institute for Nonviolence, which have actually created, you know, helped to support and grow a movement, but actually professionalized, you know, professionalize the work. And so that people who have an experience, who are experts in their experience, who are those trusted liaisons, can now come back and be with the community, right, and help to prevent something that they also often know too well, right? And that are trying to make a change. And several of them who I'm friends with, so a few have lost their roles. And it's also with the cutting of Medicaid, as we know, that's going to have a huge impact. If people cannot eat, if people don't have access to health care, all of that has an impact on how people respond.
Yeah,
So
normally we budget for results, Yolanda, and we know that these programs that you all run that partner with the state has worked. Because when you look at it, I don't like to brag about numbers of how crime is down, but it's true that crime is down, and it's because of the work that's being done on the ground level. And the reason why I don't like to brag about it, because people are still being killed, people are still
Right.
being robbed. So, but we can say without a doubt that numbers in violent crimes is down in the state of Illinois. And that's because of the holistic approach that's been undermined by the Republican administration that's hurting our communities. And their approach is bring in the federal National Guard.
Yeah. So, Rep. Ford, I have a question. So what is we know what works, and we know what's being pushed back, what's being rolled back. What does the fight look like for us? What from your vantage point, what should we be doing?
I think that definitely we should organize, and just one, I think when we look at certain communities, there are communities that's believing in the Republicans' agenda, that believe that Trump has our best interest, that believe that the Democrats are bad, that the Democrats are not doing enough. I think that in order to protect our democracy, that we have to stand up for it and realize that this administration is trying to take away the 13th, 14th Amendment. This administration has already said out of his mouth, the president has already said that he's ending the museum, Smithsonian, because he doesn't like the way they tell the truth about slavery. So we really have to be truth tellers in this instance. And when we hear people that side with what's wrong, we have to stand up and let them know the truth, because these are dangerous times. Anytime you have a president of the United States that says he's going to end the Smithsonian Museum's telling of slavery because it's too harsh, and that's not the story that we want for America. Well, that's just a small example of his philosophy and the way he thinks. And when you have an administration that says that they want to cut funding for college students to go to college, you have a administration that say that they want to cut funding for SNAP benefits. They want to cut people off of Medicaid. And I think one thing, Robert, that's being missed in the cuts for Social Security, there are millions of Americans that are on Social Security that's not senior citizens. That's a threat. We all know someone in our family or in our village that has Social Security that's not 65 or 67, whatever the age is to qualify, but they have Social Security disability. That's under attack. And people need to know that.
Thank you. Yo, did you have any other questions or comments?
Oh, this is a longer conversation.
We could talk all
To bring
day.
back Representative LaShawn Ford for an hour and just
Right.
talk about this, because telling the truth and speaking up right now is so important. So thank you. I mean, all I can say is, in addition to, okay, we know slavery happened. This happened, right? We also know a truth that when you have lax gun laws, right, and when you strip back those gun violence prevention policies that have been set in place to keep communities safe, you are going to see a rise in shootings and a rise in homicides due to firearms. So it's all connected, and it's a threat on Black and Brown communities majorly, because that's where we see the impacts of gun violence the most. So I just want to thank you, Representative LaShawn Ford. Yes, please
Well,
respond.
I would just say one thing. I know you guys have the full panel, but you have to think about the law and order approach that this administration has. They have friends that own prisons. The prison population is going down in this country, and to actually bring in the federal guard to actually police, I don't feel safe with that, because to be a black
Good point.
man in this country, there are so many people that have been wrongfully accused, and once you get accused of something, it's forever a black eye, and you forever will be stained from it. Even if you're freed from the accusation, it's going to cost your family money, your friends money, and you may lose your job, all because of a mistake that someone made. And that's what we have to worry about. This administration has no love for people. And I'll just say, as a teacher, the best way for me to have taught and get the respect from my students when I was teaching was to show them that I cared about them and loved them.
I love that.
If I led with love and care, I was able to discipline them and teach them. There is no love and care from this president. So why would we want him to send in his group to police us? It's harmful and dangerous.
It is. It
Thank
is.
you.
These are scary times. Yes, and it's going to take all of us to continue to, as you said, Representative LaShawn Ford, to fight back. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great session.
Thank you for your words, Rep. Ford.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're absolutely, Rep. Ford is absolutely right. The best way to care for our young people is to show love and care. And it's very limited love and care in our current criminal justice system. So that's why I'm incredibly thankful and honored and proud that we have Terrence Simpkins, who is a justice advocate and co-founder of End Permanent Punishment, a grassroots organization dedicated to dismantling the lifelong consequences of incarceration. Drawing from his personal experience within the criminal legal system, Terrence works to raise awareness about the barriers faced by returning citizens and to promote policies that support true rehabilitation, second chances, and community reintegration. His leadership has helped shape a growing movement focused on ending stigma, restoring rights, and advancing restorative justice across Illinois and beyond. So with that, I'm incredibly thankful to welcome Terrence Simpkins onto this call. Terrence.
Thank you for having me. As he said, my name is Terrence Simpkins. I am the Southside organizer for Illinois Coalition to End Permanent Punishment. We are a statewide organization that's led by formerly incarcerated people because we believe that those that are closest to the problem should be ones that's closest to the solutions. So with that being said, is it okay if I share my screen?
It's all you.
Okay. So I have just a small presentation about who we are and what it is that we do. Let's see if I can pull this up. So once again, Illinois Coalition, we are led by directly impacted people because we believe that those that's closest to the problem should be closer to the solutions. And we do that by creating safety, by unlocking opportunities, and basically just ending permanent punishments. So I don't know. So with that, we believe that arrest records shouldn't follow one another. LaShawn Ford was saying people make mistakes and they follow you for the rest of their life. We believe that they shouldn't follow you for the rest of your life. We believe there should be ways to get it off of you, and we do that through advocacy work. So here, permanent punishment, we there's a thing called the difference between collateral consequences versus permanent punishments. Collateral consequences is basically what they're saying it's a mistake. Oops, this barrier was placed there just in case, but no, it isn't. We scrub the database, and it's over 1,400 barriers, 1,400 legislative things that serve as barriers with people that has been impacted by the justice system, which we call permanent punishments. So, and those permanent punishments affects people's when it comes to getting employed, when it comes to being able to integrate with your family, when it comes to getting housing, when it comes to getting mental health resources, when it comes to getting education, licensing, civic engagements. and as well as even benefits from the state. So what I mean by that now, even though we are protected when it comes to employment and housing, people don't know that. They don't know that it is illegal for them not to hire you just based off of your background alone, especially if it's been past 3 years. The same thing with housing. And so we believe in educating everyone about the laws that are coming out, about the laws that they need to know, because these laws impact not only them, but the communities as well. So as you can see here, just off this draft chart alone, where we lie when it comes to employment and occupational license. They try to, they want to take it all away from. So that's why we come up with legislation. We come up with things that we can use to try to remove those barriers. So when it comes to employment, occupational license, even having your own businesses and just civic engagements. And that's sometimes, it's like it sometimes can be discouraging, but for me, it's like a personal fight. So we continue to push on to help pass legislation. And as well, it has the impact on women, especially it hurts women basically 9 times more than it hurts me. Because, for example, like these are the things that they can't. Daycare provider, electrician, consultant, cosmetologist, hair braiding, makeup artist, all these things that they've been impacted by the justice system. They have to find ways to be able to be a part of this. And most the only way is if you get a certificate of good conduct or you get a health care waiver. It shouldn't have to be that way. We shouldn't have to come home and get waivers just to be able to work where we want to work. But it is the way that it is today. So those are our problems, and this is how we came up with our. So Fully Free is a fully free campaign that's centered to support the expertise and directly impacted people because, like I say, those close to the problem should be ones close to the solutions. So as you can see here, it's a multi-year wholesale legislative campaign. We do that by saying by building out legislations. Like we had the Free Act, the Just Housing Amendment. There's been a lot of things that we've been a part of with different organizations to help remove barriers, but the fight is still ongoing. So we create and amplify a counter narrative about people with arrest and conviction rate, allowing them to use their voices to tell their stories because their voices and their stories is what matter. I cannot go into a room and speak about someone else's experience. I can speak about mine, but not theirs. And we do that as well through coalition development, partner outreach, and support. We go in, we do teach-ins, we try to build partnerships with different organizations. Like now, we've been building a lot of partnerships with different reentry organizations. But my whole objective is to build partnerships with every organization that's doing this work. I myself used to do CVI work before I started doing this, and I feel that there's a bridge in this gap that I'm trying to close so we can find ways of how we can do this work together. Because the one thing I always say that once everything has been de-escalated, it's what's next. Where do they go to next? What else is being provided next? What are they learning next about how, what I'm saying, to basically, stay out of trouble. These are your rights. This is how you protect yourself. This is how you protect your families. And this is how you can continue to protect by pushing forward towards legislation. And that legislation for us, like now we work on this clean slate, which will help automate the process, I'm pretty sure. Some of y'all are familiar with the clean slate bill. We got it through the House. Now it's sitting in the Senate. We're trying to get it passed. Now this bill will help the process as far as when it comes to sealing and expungement. It's putting the burden back on the state. Right now we have one of the highest expansion deals when it comes to sealing and expungement, going from 9 cases being eligible to only 4 cases being ineligible. And those 4 cases is DUI, domestic violence, animal cruelty, and sex offenses. So anything from felony murders on down are petition based. Everything right now in this moment is petition based. And most people don't know this. They walking around with these records on their backs, not knowing that they can get these records off of their backs. We stress hard to get these records off of people's backs. And that's why we come in and we do these teach-ins so we can talk about this. Because imagine not having these records on their backs. I mean, they can get the jobs that they want. They can get the licenses that they want. They can get the mental health resources. They can get basically anything that they want if they can remove these barriers. So as a true organizer, I have a call to action to anyone that's on this call. If they haven't been in support of this clean slate legislation, please download this QR code and in support of clean slate, it would send a letter to your state representative letting them know that you support clean slate and that we needed this bill to get passed. This bill is very, very important. Because just imagine this one small legislation being passed that can impact over 4 point some million people into leading a better life. Now just imagine people being a part of this, knowing that yes, there's people out there that are trying to do the work to navigate the system in the right way instead of the wrong way. I'm sorry. Before I continue, is there any questions about this legislation? Yes, Yolanda?
Or yes, could you tell us, I just went to the link. Right, okay. We're pushing to make Illinois the 13th state to pass the Clean Slate Act.
Yes, it has been
So,
passed in 12 states so far, yes.
So next session, we're going to continue, because I know we supported that last session by sharing out like these codes, telling the coalition about it. Another reason we're having you come on to educate our coalition and the public about this policy. But that's the goal, right? To get this passed, since it didn't pass last session, to get it past this upcoming session.
Yes, in veto session.
In veto session, okay. So everybody on this call, or when we post this on our website and you happen to be looking at it, wherever you're looking at it, please share this action with your networks, with your family members, with your friends, educate your networks about what Clean Slate is about, because it does make a difference, right? I had a family member who did something when they were like 15, maybe 16 years old, charged as an adult, couldn't get a job from that point on, from 17. And now finally, there's an organization that looked at his past and said, okay, well, it's all right now. We're hiring people now that have backgrounds, and we'll hire you. But for all those years, for 20 years, I mean, it's in my family, right? I know how being permanently punished for your life for something that you did. And then if you serve time and you've come out and you've served your time and you're still serving time, right? It has an impact. And all of this, if people don't think that this policy has something to do with gun violence prevention, they are wrong. We have to support each other. We have to. We need this. We need CVI. We need this to pass, and we need policies that are evidence-based, for peace.
I myself, I've recently just came home from doing 25 years, and I've seen the effect of how people change in the system has. And as you were saying, it does go hand in hand, because once we reduce the violence, what is the next steps? What's the next steps? So just imagine if all these reentry, if we lose our job today, what do we got to go back to? Safer foundation and looking for a job? Question is, what's next? What comes after this? Especially for them, we getting them off the street, but what is next? So we do it through policy works, and we come in and we like to come in to different organizations, and this is how we do teaching, we do documented screenings, expungement summits, know your rights event, we do forums, we do a lot of things in order for us to educate the people about what legislation that we either working on, pass, or trying to get passed.
And most families, I'm listening. Go on. I'm sorry.
No, and it's true. And we need community. I'm the South Side organizer. I've been to almost every organization that I can think of that's been on the South Side just to try to build this bridge. Even to see how Chicago, Craig, I've been to a lot because I believe that we can work hand in hand. So with us, it's like, consider us as somebody you don't have to pay. You know what I'm saying? We coming in to educate. So this is what we are. We are educators. We are trying to build leaders so they can be able to educate. And that's what's most important. And thank you for this. Thank
you. Terrence, can you share that screen again with the QR code?
Let me go right here.
The QR, yeah, that one. There we go.
We need to put this on a t-shirt.
Yes,
This
yes, for
is important.
13, for 13. Oh yeah, and that's why for every 13th we celebrate every 13th of the month or every month until this legislation get passed.
Okay, every
Yeah.
13th of the month.
Yes.
Great. Okay.
So as I saying, y'all know who I am. I would love to get to know more about you guys. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's through doing one-on-ones or still being able to come into your organization to do these teach-ins to see how we can build a better bridge, so to speak. Like I say, I've been on both sides. I did this CVI work as well. Now I'm doing the organized work because I believe that, you know what I'm saying, in order to do CVI, you have to be able to organize. You know, we have to be able
Yeah,
to organize. Yeah.
yeah, this is true. This is true. And most families that I talk with, at somewhere in the family, it's only when you start the conversation, there is someone that's been impacted, right? There's someone that is a returning citizen or still inside, right? And they
Mhm.
don't know that there's an avenue to break that cycle of continuing being punished and not
Exactly.
giving a fair opportunity to succeed. And it continues to destroy lives. So we definitely support you. And when Robert, shares out your information, we'll can we include your email as well as your
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
contact
yes,
information?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Can I
Okay,
ask?
great.
It was a question. It was a question in the chat. They asked, are they looking? Tamika was asking, are they looking
Exactly.
into expunging federal cases? Yes, yes, we are. We are. We looking to hit every level of punishment that's out there. We trying to remove everything. We scrub the records. We do detail. Like I said, it's over 1,400 barriers that's out there that's proves for recidivism. All those things, to me, my personal opinion, was put there so that we can keep going in and out of prison. Because why is it that when we come home from prison, people come home from prison, they get $15 in a bus ticket, and they tell you
And,
to figure it out.
yeah,
And we the
unless
ones that's
they,
coming to us.
yeah, I'm
And we
sorry,
have to
unless they
come
have
back.
the,
No.
gosh, I'm so sorry. You are like, I want to say so much, but hold that thought because unless they are fortunate enough while they're inside to come across in permanent punishments who will go in and do education or Chicago Cred or the Institute or Live Free Illinois, one of these organizations that will go in. And I've met, we work in our coalition, we work with different organizers, who have a background and say, hey, when I was inside, I met this person, like I
Mhm.
met this organizer, and if it wasn't for that person, I wouldn't have had a driver's license when I got out. I wouldn't have had a job. I wouldn't have had somebody to go to court with me to speak up for me. I would definitely be back in because I would not have had a choice. I would have had to have fed myself, right? It's either that
Exactly.
or you do something that you don't want to do, and you end up back inside because you weren't given an opportunity when you got out to live, to thrive. And so I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Oh,
it's
it's okay.
like, I just want people to know the work that you do is so important. And we have to support a clean slate and organizations like yours and to continue to educate. So yes.
Yeah, and that's as I was saying, that's basically what our whole organization is about restoring people's rights. Being the right to be able to actually be free, not to come home. Just imagine you got to come home. You got to, if you're on a registry, you got to register, so that holds you back. You're trying to get employment, all these things are being used against you. Now imagine in Cook County, like I would say, we do have rights. We have housing rights, we have employment rights, we have rights. But do you know that even now, nobody really knows about the rights they have? Only 40 people filed for discrimination when it came to employment. It should be more than that.
Yeah.
It should be more people complaining about being denied housing
Mhm.
as well as employment. We should be complaining about that, and that's why we come in and do teaching so people can understand the rights that are out there that's afforded to them that they don't know about.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Wonderful.
Terrence.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Terrence.
thank you,
Appreciate
thank you.
you and the work that you're doing to protect our rights, everyone's rights. Everyone deserves the right to be free, free from being continuously punished, free from gun violence, free from injustice, the whole nine. That's why I'm incredibly excited to welcome our next guest, especially as students are heading back to school and the focus is on youth. We have incredible youth activists and advocates that are doing the work on the ground for justice, for peace. One of the shining stars of this country is Tre Bosley. He's a passionate anti-violence advocate and community organizer dedicated to ending gun violence and uplifting the voices of impacted families through his work with organizations like Brave Youth Group and Purpose Over Pain, March for Our Lives, Community Justice Action Fund. I'm probably missing some. Tre empowers young people, challenges cycles of violence, and pushes for policies that address the root causes of community trauma. A few weeks ago, I attended a community meeting with one of the organizations Tre is leader in Brave Youth Group, where he talked about some of the initiatives that they're working on to uplift the stories of and the solutions of gun violence prevention organizations. I was thrilled. And so I wanted to make sure that, again, as students are heading back to school, that we also highlighted the youth that are doing incredible work. Tre, you're almost not a youth anymore, man. You got like 2 more years. You got to start college. We got to find somebody else.
I think I already might have aged out.
You may be. But without further ado, I'd love to pass the mic to Tre Bosley of Brave Youth Group.
Thank you. Rob, could you pull up the presentation and I'll just present from that? Because I'm trying to do it off my phone, so I want to be share screen.
Yes, I can. 1 second.
Cool. Well, while he does that, I want to thank One Aim for allowing me, to be on here today. So, like Rob said, my name is Tre Bosley. My first introduction to gun violence was back in 2005. My cousin Vincent Avant, he was shot and killed down the street from his home. Then the following year, my brother Tre Bosley, he was shot and killed at church while getting ready for band rehearsal. So following both of their deaths, my family felt the need to get involved in violence prevention. So my mother started a group called Purpose Over Pain, which is for parents who have lost children to gun violence, where they try to go out, solve their own cases. They push for different pieces of legislation. They do different events for mothers and fathers, as well as siblings who have lost someone to gun violence. My father, he has a group called Strong Future, which is for formerly incarcerated young men and women to find full-time employment. So they offer them life coaches, as well as different help, as well as expungement classes as well. And then myself, I help organize this group called the Brave Youth Leaders, which stands for Bold Resistance Against Violence Everywhere. A group of youth going out in the community, creating positive change. We started the name back in like 2011, and I've been with the group ever since. And, we do peace tournaments, basketball tournaments, protest rallies, a boatload of different things where we just try to make the community safer and make the community feel better. And now we have this program called the Peacemaker Program, where throughout the summer and throughout the school year, we teach young people in the community how to be activists, and we allow them to do their own projects. And one of the projects that they decided to go with this year was the Highlight Program. And that's what this presentation is about, and most of it they put it together. So I'm not going to go too far in detail everything, because some of this is from their words. But the 3 main points of the program were: 1, to highlight violence prevention organizations doing amazing work in Chicago. 2, connecting connecting community members with these organizations that have so many resources, where most times people don't even know what's next door to them, what resources are at their fingertips. And then the last thing was to gain information from them, from the organizations, so we can make sure that we can provide them, different resources and connect them with different organizations that may be able to help their work and their initiatives even more. So, with Trump and everything going on now, like sending the National Guard to Chicago, that is kind of a little bit of why we did this. A lot of people don't know just how much positive positive things are happening in Chicago, how many groups are doing violence prevention work in different ways, whether it's survivor groups, whether it's youth programs, whether it's peace carnivals. There's so many different things going on in Chicago to try to decrease the violence, and we're seeing it work. And we know that sending a National Guard here isn't, the answer to the violence problem that we have and that we've been solving. So with this program, with the youth, facilitating these highlights and interviews, it was an amazing thing throughout the summer. So Rob, I don't know if you can go back to the video slide. I'm not gonna go like over the whole thing. It's a long video. But our youth were the ones who were facilitating the interviews with the different organizations, getting a chance to go across the city on the south and west side and meet with organizations, learn about the different things that they do. So, like, for example, we went to the Firehouse Center on the west side. And a lot of our youth learned about, just the different arts that they teach there, the different programs they have for music, for painting, etc. And just learning about, the positive groups and the positive work being done in the city. And we want to make sure that the rest of the city and people, know about these. So this was one of the interviews with Chicago Cred, meeting with, some of their members, and just, highlighting so much amazing work going on in the city. So you go to the next few slides. And then one of the biggest things that we did at the end of the part of the highlight program, we held a community stakeholder meeting where Robert was in attendance as well, where we invited elected officials, we invited some of the different youth groups and some of the different organizations we interviewed, as well as community members, to hear about the different organizations and then the different problems that these organizations are facing. Whether it's funding due to federal cuts, whether it's lack of collaboration because they don't know what other groups are around them that can potentially solve some of the problems they have. We just wanted everyone to hear what's going on in the violence prevention space and being able to see what resources are there to connect people. So with the presentation, some of the things that the youth talked about were gun violence, and the things that we heard about gun violence from the interviews. They talked about mental health and some of the mental health things, mental health issues that they've heard from organizations of how they need help, amongst many other things. You go to the next one. They talked about how, Black youth were, some of the most affected by gun violence, 10 times more likely to suffer from non-fatal gun injuries compared to their white peers. They did a lot of research, over the summer just so they can be more informed on the issue of gun violence, even though they all experience it in their communities. Sometimes, you have to have data and statistics and things to go along with just your experience in order for people sometimes to hear you, especially elected officials sometimes. And you could keep going. So yeah, they presented on mental health, and the different statistics about that. And we can go to the next one. Yep, we can keep going. And then one of the biggest things they talked about was youth programs, and how, youth programs are one of the keys to violence prevention, and that most of the organizations we spoke with talked about the importance of having youth programs in tandem with the work that they do, whether that was the intervention programs, whether that was some of the arts centers, the survivor resources, but having some type of youth component with their organizations or being able to collaborate with some sort of youth program was something that they heard through all of the interviews. So one of the biggest things that was super cool about the youth leading this entire project was them growing in confidence as they, put this project together. Most of the teens in Brave are high schoolers, some freshmen. So kids are pretty nervous in general. So a lot of them didn't even have any type of public speaking, training before the program. They didn't want to talk. They were scared to, speak up in a group of just their peers. And by the end of the program, they were facilitating the interviews. They led the entire community meeting, and they talked about the different issues. They talked to the representatives. They were just showing their growth through the entire program. So we can go to the next slides. Yep, keep going. Oh, they actually spoke up about their acts. But yeah, they basically asked for more youth programs, more funding for violence prevention. They mentioned some of the things they heard from the different groups of how many of them wanted to collaborate more, and just a boatload of different things that we learned. But overall, we were grateful for the groups that volunteered, that allowed themselves to be interviewed, to be a part of the process, who were patient. With youth being the ones facilitating interviews, because asking questions as a young person isn't always the easiest, especially if you've never done like media training or anything like that. So we were very appreciative to all the groups that participated, and this program is ongoing. We're continuing to do more and more highlights. So if you have an organization, or your organization wants to be interviewed, we'll make sure to set up a day, bring our youth along, so they can facilitate these interviews, because we want the world in Chicago to understand what violence prevention looks like. And it's not sending the National Guards to over police our communities. It's the work that we're already doing that we're seeing that works. So we want to continue this program, and we also want to continue to allow the community to learn about what resources are at their fingertips. So any questions?
We see folks saying they're going to hit you up, Tre. Appreciate this work, Tre.
Thank
If
you.
you have any questions, you can
Yeah,
drop it in the chat.
I have a
well spoken.
question.
Yep.
I have a question for Tre. Yes. So Tre, I would like to know how we, 1AIM Illinois, can do a better job at getting young people, youth involved in our advocacy day in Springfield. Because you came, which was wonderful, and you also helped facilitate bringing a group of young people. We had about maybe 4 or 5. But I know that during the school day, it's a hard thing, right, to get youth to come. So
Yeah.
what would be your advice if you could design an advocacy day where we could get more of your brave youth leaders, and just youth in general, Black and brown youth, because they often don't have an opportunity to come to Springfield.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that's the toughest part, is that a lot of them are in school during, most of the sessions. Probably the best thing that we can do would be, one, to aim at college level students, because they have a little more leeway and they're still youth. And as far as getting high schoolers, it would probably have to be maybe a school holiday or something. I don't know if they'll be in session, if it's depending on the type of holiday. But maybe if we're able to, try to do a lobby day around some sort of day when they're still in session, but it's considered a type of holiday where they're out of school. And I think that would probably be the best, because I know a lot of youth want to go to Springfield. A lot of them never even been there. And I think, finding some way to get them all down there would be amazing. So yeah, I think a field trip, some type of day like that, or some type of off day would probably be best.
Maybe MLK Day if session is in session. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, well, that was my question. Are there others? Because I have more. Are there other questions?
We have time for one more question. If anyone has questions in the chat, or you wanted to ask your final question.
Let's see. My final question? Let's see.
You see how I had to
Doesn't
sneak
really
that in?
have to
Because
be my final
Yo
question.
got, when Yo said she got a couple questions, she means you got a couple questions.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess one of them would be, so, your public speaking, your role as an advocate, as you shared when you introduced yourself, came out of that pain, losing your cousin, losing your brother, to the gun violence epidemic. And all of these years, like later, as you've gone to so many different states, even Washington, D.C., and having this opportunity, to speak with President Obama. And now you're working with these young, Black and some brown, young people, with Brave New Youth, and then all races, actually, throughout the country that you work with. So when you, as as an adult, young adult, um, see over all these years of doing this work, and then you're looking at the young ones continuing kind of that fight and that struggle and finding their voice in it. Um, from this perspective, where do you feel as though our energies here in Illinois, right, need to be focused on, to help the youth, but to move peace forward? That's a big question, but I mean, you've got such a deep experience in this. So just wanted to get your feelings on that.
Yeah. I think a lot of the times, I think we don't put enough confidence in the youth, as far as, how effective they can be, in the movement. And even though, we have, boatloads of knowledge and things that, we've gained over our years, the youth are still, fresh with ideas that can be incredibly impactful and sometimes incredibly simple. And I think if we give them more, respect when it comes to, talking with them and learning about, let them come up with solutions that they think would be best for gun violence. Like for some of our youth, they wanted to do a silent party. Now, that wasn't always the first thing that came to mind to me when it, would be gun violence prevention, but a silent party is something that their friends would want to come to. And we, were able to have decent numbers for that. So I think overall, just in the movement in general, I think we need to give young people more of a voice, and we need to respect the voice that they have when they enter in spaces. So that would probably be where we can put our energy is making sure that they're at the table, and then probably just increasing youth programming. I think like recently I heard about one of the statistics about, young people having jobs in the city and like how such a large percentage of young people don't even have jobs. And that's what leads to, these teen trends and these other problems that we have, is just youth not having enough for them to do, and not having enough places to be or enough, money to go live, etc. So I think putting a full force in, youth programs, whoever those may be, and also allowing youth to be at the table. Because if a young person is at the table and they organize this event, they'll be more likely to tell their friends about the event because they have some type of energy in it versus us telling them what they should be doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that, Trey. Yeah, and so true. And while you were speaking, I dropped in the Voices of Change link if people want to look at Trey's full story. Well, not his full story, but what we could capture in 6 minutes. Because you shared your voice with this campaign, this video series, and then hopefully that will encourage others to continue to share theirs. So let's see, we got this comment from Lee Taylor. I agree. We must change our thinking. Youth are not the future. They are like you and I in the present.
Yep.
Love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Trey. We can stay here all day and listen to you talk. Truly appreciate you. I have a couple announcements. We got 1 minute left in this meeting. A couple announcements. Terrence, correct me if I'm wrong. You all have an event today, actually, the permanent punishment. It's hosting a fully free statewide
Uh,
orientation on Zoom
Correction, that is tomorrow. The fully free statewide orientation will be tomorrow.
tomorrow. Okay, we'll drop that link in here.
Yes, please do,
And then
please do.
perfect. And then we want to invite everyone. I'll do this quick. We want to invite everyone to the Safe at Home bill signing party on September 3rd. We'll drop that link in too. Everyone is invited. It's free food, free drinks. We want to come and celebrate all the hard work of this coalition and getting that Safe at Home bill signed into law by Governor Pritzker. So please come. Terrence, I'd love to see you there, man. Tre, love to see you there. So please sign up. We'll drop that in the chat. And then we're also having a fall fundraiser. It's going to be special tickets for our coalition members. That's going to be November 13th, yo.
November 13th.
We'll drop that link in as well. And we'll just be on the lookout for more email from me with a follow-up with the slideshow presentations, some links to the direct actions from End Permanent Punishment, and then any other events that we have going on. Thank you, everybody, for joining this call. Thank you to our guest, Terrence Simpkins of End Permanent Punishment, Tre Bosley of March for Our Lives, Brave Youth Group, Community Justice Action Alliance, Purpose Over Faith, and then also State Representative of the 8th District of Illinois, LaShawn Ford. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We'll see you on the next one.